Yeah. Okay, so we are live. So I'm reading from the Babli and Masech Sukkah on Daf Samech. Excuse me, there is no Daf Samech on Daf Nun Beis. Says the Gemara, Shiva Shemos Yesh Yetzer Hara. There are 7 names that the prophets used to refer to the evil inclination, or to the formulator of evil. It's probably a better translation. The Yetzer Hara, the one who formulates evil. So Yechezkel, crow, Evan. The prophet Yechezkel called it a stone, as it says in the pasuk in Yechezkel, "V'hasirosi es leiv ha'evan mi b'sarchem." I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh, v'nosati lechem leiv basar, and I will put in its place a heart of flesh. I remove the heart of stone and put in its place a heart of flesh. This idea, I think we've mentioned in other contexts that what does it mean to have a heart of stone as opposed to have a heart of flesh? So even in English idiom, that has come to mean something that the heart of stone means a material that's impermeable. It's not impacted by things on the outside at all. It's very difficult to affect it. And flesh, because it's alive, because it's an organism, is able to receive stimulus from the outside. It's able to receive. And this theme of the ability of the softening, which allows the consciousness to receive, is the theme that we're going into in the next ta'am. As we've seen, many of the ta'amim, perhaps most of them, they come in pairs. So we had a few ta'amim already that come in pairs. The next ones that we're going to do now, B'ezrat Hashem, also come in pairs. Mercha tipcha, mercha. So it says Rav Kook on mercha, adinut ha'argasha, the gentility of feeling, hamitueret gamken b'tziur rach halev, which is often expressed in the softness of the heart. Adinut ha'argasha, sensitivity of feeling, is right. We describe that as a soft heart. Habmuvneit lo b'muvan harachruchit hacholanit, not to be understood as the softness in a secular context, kim betoch omek haregesh, but rather in the most deep and fundamental way, the depths of feeling itself. Hachoder omek b'chush ha'idun, which penetrates deep into the sense of gentility, umolich et kol hamuchash, and is thereby able to guide or direct all that is sensed. So this aspect of softness, of, again, adinut ha'argasha, the gentility of the senses or of the emotions, guides all the senses. It guides all of the interaction and sensory input that we receive from our surroundings. Kol hamitzuyar, anything that can be formulated or perhaps thought of or grasped. Kol ha'oneg, all of the delights. Hayafeh v'hanisgav, the beautiful and the lofty. Amok b'chadrei neshama, that can penetrate deep into the inner sanctum of the soul. V'orach hayim v'ha'anugim, and the light of life and its delights. Mimakor oneg hakodesh, they come from the source of delights of holiness. Mishtapechu b'hamon galav, then they are able to pour out in their mighty flowing of waves. So basically what he's saying is that there's this attribute which he opens up with calling it the adinut ha'argasha, the gentility of the senses. I keep on saying senses, it's not senses. The gentility of feeling, the hargasha. Hargasha is feeling. The gentility of feeling, or a soft heart, it is the capacity to be able to go deep into the inner recesses of the soul and be aware of one's spiritual and lofty source. That's what it is. And all of the layers, the protective layers that people put around their heart are essentially blocking off that awareness of this divine, sublime source.
And it's possible to kind of go in and out, though, right? Like, it's not like once
well,
you
hopefully, yes.
That's it. You penetrated it. That's it. You're good. You're safe. Right?
So to give a hint, right? The other tam that comes after this is gonna bring some balance to this. But yes, it's correct what you're saying. To not be in to be in this state of complete complete vulnerability, let's say, right? Because it is a state, right? It is a state of vulnerability. Is good because it allows a person to removing the protective layers around our emotional experience. It allows us to fully commune with the awareness that we come from a divine source. That's really what it is, right? All of the right. He says all of the delights associated with the emotions are just climbing the ladder, so to speak, to get back to the awareness of our divine source, which is a very powerful statement. Right? All the delights of emotions are just rungs on the ladder to be aware of our divine source. It's very powerful. What? What?
Emotions aren't always.
So, right. So he's saying the delights. Well, that's not so. I don't think that's so simple either.
You're right.
You're
right.
Yeah, because it's just the flip side of the thing, right? One doesn't come with the other. It's a package deal. Yeah. So, but he's saying something very powerful. He's saying that acquiring this gentility of the soul is the capacity to be aware of one's divine source. It's the same thing.
Rather than give examples of each one of these, I mean, it'd be so beautiful to take a word and like that we know from like Haftarah or something and say, see the meaning because of that drop.
So right. So something kind of clicked the last time we were discussing this, which I didn't mention out loud, but I'll just take the chance to insert this parenthetically. There are some ta'amim that are much more common than others. Much more common. We're about to get to shalsheles soon, which appears 3 times in the whole Torah. We started off the conversation because we skipped ahead a little bit because it happened to be the parsha of the week that disappears. Right. The not Azla Geresh. The Yereach, I'm forgetting the name of it. What is it called? The one that appears only once in the whole Torah, not the Tlisha Gedala, right? The Karnei Para. The Karnei Para appears only once in the whole Torah. So they're right. Oh, right, exactly. So the more rare they are, the more of a, let's say, of a unique theme they're trying to give, a theme that isn't so general and all over the place. The Mercha Tipcha pair come all over. I don't think there's one pasuk in the whole Torah that doesn't have a Mercha Tipcha. So basically, what we can infer from that is that the theme that's being communicated by the Mercha Tipcha pair, which we are now in the midst of learning, is so general that it applies all over the place. Right. So just even at the point where we're at now in this discussion, we can say that the capacity of having an open heart, removing barriers and being vulnerable, being open, right, making the heart soft, so to speak, is something that applies across the board. It's something that's there all the time. It's a need that we have.
So even more so, if it's so common, it means that we're missing dimensions of the meaning of the word because we didn't know what the tongue actually was trying to emphasize. So
when you say meaning of the word, and we're going to and we've revisited this, right? The ta'amim don't contribute to the meaning of the word.
I don't mean the
right?
meaning of the word. I mean,
they're rather the backdrop.
Right,
they're the tone. They're the theme music behind the thing. Yeah. So there's theme music that's perpetual. It's interesting. There's essentially what we're saying is that there's layers of theme music, right? That they come in with relative frequency in order to highlight a certain thing. The Mercha Tipcha is again constantly all the time. I think every single verse in the whole Torah has at least one Mercha Tipcha pair. So this is a constant theme. It's a constant background music that's being played in order to keep us in that zone.
You're watching a horror movie, the music is telling you the guy behind the
yes,
curtain with the
exactly.
Guy.
Yes.
So here too, it would help understand something. It would give more dimension to our understanding if we took what he's describing and married it with.
I think that the practice is that every time we read the Torah, we should be having these. We should approach it with these ideas that we're learning now. V'nishmat Hashem mishtapeach u'bahamon galav v'nishmat Hashem kenachal adanim mavcha plagea b'malcha min hayamin mimal el hashefel asher betachtit hanoseh muskal. The soul of the matter, meaning the deepest recesses of our emotional experience, pours out like a river of gentility, and its waves b'malcha in their progression miyamin mimal el hashefel asher betachtit. So you can see the actual picture of the mercha like it starts off high, so to speak, and then goes down below to the left. So and we've talked about this in the past, how the right is always connoting closer to source, and left is always talking about progression out and becoming differentiated and independent away from source. So it starts off high right, meaning lofty, connected to source, and then goes down to the left, which is farther away, becoming more individuated and more aware of self. In order to quench the thirst for all this gentility that life holds, v'ziv ha'elyon hamitromem berov adanav, and the sublime light which transcends all of those delights, mitpashet b'chol hamerchavim, spreads out in all areas. So again, as he said in the beginning, or as he alluded to in the beginning, that all of the rich emotional experience is just rungs on the ladder to be aware of the highest sublime experience, which is being aware of source. So that ziv elyon, that high light, eventually, when a person achieves complete emotional openness, complete gentility, so they're able to transcend all of the delights of the emotional experience to achieve the highest experience, which is that awareness of source. Al pi adnat hamercha b'noam hamita hamaleya ta'anug v'rach, which is delightful and soft. Ta'anug v'rach. Right. I think it's best to just go straight into the tipcha, and then we can go back and discuss this, because again, it's really a pair that comes together. The tipcha is the balancing side of the mercha. If the mercha was rach, was softness, was emotional vulnerability, the tipcha is kind of the opposite of that. Right? So tipuach. It's okay, you can cut it out.
I'm so curious who's calling you now with that tone.
It's the only tone I have.
Anyway, go ahead. Okay, so the tipcha, lemazeg et hachush ha'adin, in order to balance out the sense of gentility, shel harach, of the softness, ba ha'olem hamuzikali hatipuach hazimrati. Tipuach means to develop or to strengthen, meaning strengthen in the concept of allowing something to grow to its full strength and capacity. So like it has a connotation of allowing something to grow, perhaps in like a raising a child context, or something organic like tipuach. If you're taking care of a garden, for example, and the saplings are very weak, so you do tipuach in order to yes, it's nurturing specifically in order to bring it to a state of strength and stability. Meaning, it's not in a state where it's independent. It can't look like a small child is born. It has to be It has to be nurtured and taken care of until it's independent. Right? It's not like other mammals. They come out and they're already walking. They're doing their thing. Right? Like a small child needs tipuach. It needs to be brought to a state of strength. So, in order to balance out the sense of rach, the sense of softness, so that tipcha comes right after that, which is the tipuach, which is the strengthening. Ha'omer kulo oz v'ta'atzuma, and it declares it is all strength and boldness. V'ha'atzama atzma malchutiti, and this strength is a regal strength. It is it's a strength of malchut, of royalty. Gzerat omer haba'ak tzara kedvar melech v'shilton. It is like a declaration of authority. Noam kekfir, like the roaring lion. Hamut amma letal al esav. Liidun harach. It is paralleled like the dew on a leaf. Liidun harach, to the gentility of the softness. It's an interesting parable that he's giving. Like it's like the pairing of the mercha to the tipcha, the softness to the strength, is like dew on a leaf. It's an interest. I'm not exactly sure what he's trying to communicate with that simile, but he says liidun harach v'shneim yachad, both of them together. Hamercha haraka, the mercha which is connoting softness, v'tipcha ha'atzuma, and the tipcha which is connoting strength. Hamalei oz ugvura, which is full of boldness and valor. V'pchiza mihira ma'atzemet halmuta, with a rushed sense of aggression. it increases its strength. Osim hem yachad et hachativa hanishmatit. They create together the chativa, the unified item. Right, a chativa is like, right, it's like something that's more kav, something that has been like brought together in a unit. So the merchat tipcha, they always, sorry? Right, they come bound together in a unit. The merchat tipcha, they always come together, as we said. Right, so they symbolize the chativa nishmatit, the unit of the soul. Right, the unit of the soul is made up of the mercha, the softness aspect, and the tipcha, the strength aspect. Hamakshiva l'siach harinana besod kodesh laharmonia shlema shekulo omeret kavod. And with this chativa, this unit of coming together of the softness and the strength, is the siach. It's the dialogue of the sod kodesh. Sod not in the context of secret, but sod in the sense of coming together. I think we mentioned that the word sod in Lashon HaKodesh has the connotation of coming together, like kel na'aretz b'sod kedoshim rabba. Right, the sod, the coming together, la harmonia, to create a harmony, right, a whole harmony. Shekulo omeret kavod, that speaks honor. Hod noam va'oz, glory, gentility or pleasantness, and strength. So just to ride this concept over here. Now we opened up with this idea that the softness element of our consciousness, it allows content to be received. It allows awareness to take place. It allows us to be able to receive the Dvar Hashem. I think we spoke about in another discussion that this parable that Yechezkel is giving between the heart of stone and the heart of flesh is in a very powerful way. It's a mashal for the luchos, right? The luchos, as we spoke about, the first luchos are given, they're divine objects. They're objects that are not of this world. Yeah. And in the sense that they're like living things, like the luchos themselves are alive, and then they're replaced by luchos ha'evan. They're replaced by luchos of stone. So they have the godly content on them. God writes the Aseres HaDibros on them, but they're not alive. Right? They're not alive in the same way. So like this is the difference between telling someone Dvar Hashem who has a heart of flesh, who can really receive it, who could really take it in, and it really impacts them, to someone who has a heart of stone. Someone who has a heart of stone. Okay, so it's written on it, right on the surface, but it doesn't really penetrate. It doesn't really penetrate the person, right, to the full extent. The way that this idea of the rach is inculcated, right, in Jewish practice, is all of what we call hilchot ta'aniyot, right, the days of fasting. We think of the days of fasting, they're like, okay, to remember something bad that happened, so we all, we don't eat for 25 hours, and we pretend like we're sad, and then we, have a break fast, and then we go back to normal life. But like the idea of hilchot ta'aniyot is meant to be a very powerful and indeed organic, because most fast days were not planned out already on the calendar. They were established in response to something that was going on, like a current event. There was something that was going on, they would declare a fast day. So most fast days that people experience weren't already pre-planned, pre-scheduled. They were in response to something that was going on. When something is going on, you have to take note of that thing and respond in a certain way. And says the Rambam in the very beginning of Hilchos Ta'aniyos, he says, someone who doesn't respond in this way, he's called an achzar. He's called someone who he has this cruelty about them. Someone who doesn't cry out to the Creator when something bad is going on, he's cruel. Why is he cruel? Ki omer, this is what the Rambam says in the first paragraph of Hilchos Ta'aniyos, right? Karo mikre. It's just the happenstance. Like this is just what happens, right? There's a cruelty. We could associate cruelty with someone being like sadistic, like they like to torture cats for fun, God forbid, right? But the more common form of cruelty is cruelty of inaction. That's much more common. Right? It's very, very strange to come across people that like doing things to cause people pain. That's very rare. Right? It exists, but it's very rare. Most common forms of cruelty is cruelty of inaction. So someone who sees things going on in the world and doesn't respond in a way, their heart is a heart of stone. They're not responding. So the way that we, huh? So an interesting note is that we have a mitzvah in Parshas Ba'aloscha, the mitzvah of the Chatzotzrot, to prepare trumpets. And what are these trumpets supposed to do? What do you have the trumpets for? You have the trumpets for opposite purposes. when there's a crisis, you use the trumpets to blast it and let everyone know that there's something going on that needs responding to. And also, when good things happen, you use the same trumpets, right? B'yom simchatchem u'b'mo'adechem, right? The day of your celebration. Ibn Ezra says, what's the day of celebration? When you win a war. That's the day of celebration, right? B'yom simchatchem u'b'mo'adechem u'v'roshei chodchem, right? On Rosh Chodesh and on Yom Tov, right? U'tekanatem b'chatzotzros, right? You'll blast these trumpets. These trumpets are the tools of being in this siach, being in this dialogue that Rav Kook is talking about. Being in that dialogue, the way that we have the dialogue is with the trumpets. Also the shofar, which is, we're getting into Rosh Hashanah soon. It's a different discussion, but you can extrapolate the message there. Our tool of being in this dialogue of both when good things happen and bad things happen, and we want to respond to that and recognize that we're having communication from the Creator, right? When we experience things in the world. Saying that, yes, I've heard you. I hear you loud and clear, right? Saying that is done with the chatzosros. Someone that doesn't live that way, someone who sees good things happen, they say, okay, great, this is fun, let's move on. Someone who sees bad things happen, they say, okay, this is really terrible, let's move on, right? Someone who lives like that, he's living with the heart of stone. He's living with the heart of stone. And as Rav Kook is saying, we all have the capacity to have the rakut, to have the softness. By very function of the fact that we have a divine source, that is the softness. In fact, right, the ultimate experience of this rakut is being aware of our divine source. But we put many layers, hard layers around us in order to protect ourselves, because we're lazy, because we want to check out, right? For a variety of reasons, we put things. But there are practices that we can do in order to remove those layers, because our natural state of being is actually being in a state of rakut. And what is the practice? In summary, responding and taking notes to things that are going around us and making a ritual out of it. Making an actual ritual, all these mitzvahs that we have in the Torah of crying out, of fasting, of celebrating, all these things in order to react, to give a very clear reaction to the things that are going around us. And that's how we remove the heart of stone and we replace it with a lev basar. We want to get to the rakut, to this mercha energy and inculcate it. And that's how we do it. And la'at, practicing this, taking note, being aware, and ritualizing our response to things going on in the world, it gives us the inculcation of the rakut. What is the other side of this mercha tipcha coin? The otzma and the oz, the strength, the valor. We see in the Gemara, in the Bavli, I apologize, I'm reading from my phone, but the other option is to grab all the books from the shelf, so I wanted to take it easy on everyone. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, the Bavli in Sanhedrin, in Daf Chav Daled, says, what's fascinating about the Bavli, by the way, what's very unique about the Bavli, you don't see a parallel to this in the Yerushalmi. The fascinating thing about the Bavli is that it's openly critical of itself. The Bavli is openly critical about, deficiencies in the Batei Midrash of Bavel. Like, speaks about how, Bavel is like this dark place where the mind can barely function and we have no clarity in Torah, as opposed to the Talmidei Chachamim in Eretz Yisrael. They have everything right. They're good. They have clarity. Everything's good by them. It's like openly critical. In Yerushalmi, you don't see anything like that, saying, we have problems here and they're much better there. It's just very interesting to note. So in the Bavli, it quotes the pasuk from Zechariah. Ve'ekach li, this is in Zechariah Perek Yud Aleph. Ve'ekach li shnei maklot le'echad karasi noam. He symbolically takes these two rods in his hands. One he calls noam, ve'echad karasi chovlim. One is called noam and one is called chovlim. Pleasant and destroyer. It's like two opposites. Yeah. Says the Gemara, noam. What is the staff noam representing? Elu talmidei chachamim shebe'eretz Yisrael. These are the scholars in the land of Israel. Shemanimim zel hazeh b'halacha. That they are pleasant to each other in words of Torah. Meaning, when you see two Torah scholars of the land of Israel discussing Torah, that's what they're doing. It's right. It's like this pleasantness. The dialogue is a dialogue of pleasantness. Chovlim, the other staff, which is called chovlim, elu talmidim chachamim shebavel shebechablim zel hazeh b'halacha. That they strike each other in halacha. You see them talking about, right? You see them arguing over Gemara. It looks like they're about to kill each other. Yeah, right. Shebechablim zeh zeh. These two qualities of the ni'imut, of the pleasantness, or as Rav Kook said, the gentility of Torah. And the other side of that expression is chovlim. There's an aggression that comes out. Right, it's like the Gemara in Tana says, right, ritcha da'oraisa. It's the bubbling rage that comes up right? As a function of being connected to the word of Hashem. These are two sides of the same coin. We see in the Gemara in Moed Katan. The Gemara in Moed Katan gives a series of drashot on the names of the Shlashim of David HaMelech. The Shlashim are like the heroes, like the choice warriors, the shock troops, right? The special forces, the elite. And it goes on and discusses who these people are and their amazing feats, right? Their amazing military feats. Right? So one of the people in this elite team of warriors was a person called Ido Ha'etzani. Ido Ha'etzani. So says the Gemara, Ido Ha'etzani, Beshas Milchama, at the time of war, Hayamiskasha Ke'etz. He was strong like wood. Ubeshasha Hayayoshev Batorah, but by the time when he would sit and involve himself with Torah study, Hayama'adan Atzmo Ketolas. He became soft like a worm. Like a worm. Yeah? The ability to oscillate back and forth between this very, very soft vulnerability to this very, very hard aggressiveness, they were able to cycle back and forth. What's interesting to note about this is that here in Moed Katan, Daf Tes Zayim, the Gemara darshans all these names and says these are really code names for David HaMelech himself. Meaning these they're not other people. They're referring to David HaMelech. Rashi himself in Gemara and Tanis on Daf Chav Ches, if I'm not mistaken, says no, they weren't. They're referring to these people, like these people actually existed. Yeah? What just the way that you integrate these two commentaries is that obviously David HaMelech had an army of people. It wasn't just a one-man show of David. There were other people in the army. But what it's saying is that the people that went out to war with him, they manifested attributes that David HaMelech himself had. Like he brought all of these kochos to the fore, and the people emulated him. They saw like these qualities were embodied within David HaMelech, and they were able to be acted out by all the people that followed him. But be that as it may, this attribute of the Ido on one side, right, this gentility, this softness, when you think of a worm, you think not only is it soft, but it could be like crushed very easily. And like this intense vulnerability. And on the other side is the eitz, this strong wooden beam that's able to go fight and act in this in this aggressive fashion. I came across a very, very interesting Tikkunei HaZohar recently. I was sitting in one of the shuls over here. They hopped me in for a minyan, so I was learning Tikkunei HaZohar for a little bit. What other sefer do you find in a Sephardi shul right next to you? So this is in Tikkun Chaf. Tikkun Chaf and the Chaf Aleph. They come together for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why. Amar Rabbi Shimon Bri. Ha ma'arei trisen kanachtin mila'ela. He sees this vision that these warriors are descending from on high. Milubashan shiryan, that they're wearing armor. Kistoseam kishtei eish, and their armor, all the scales of their armor are scales of fire. Vromchen, and their spears are spears of fire. V'safyeon lahava, and their swords are of fire. Hulon mare einayim bevade hamare trisen bevei midrasha. They have come to wage war in the Beit Midrash. V'ilein bahon yit'arun la'agacha krava la'ela. And they, at the same time, they are waging war up above. Kam Rabbi Shimon Patach, I'm skipping ahead a little bit. Shimu harim es riv Hashem. That's a pasuk in Micha and Perek Vav. You mountains, hear the war of God. Riv, the riv of Hashem. Man riv, what is the riv? Dash chinta. This is an idiom. This is a nickname, so to speak, to describe the divine presence. The Ihu Riv Hashem, which is expressed in the war of God. The Ihu Rabbi Rav. Rabbi, Reish Beis Yud, are the same letters as Riv, Reish Yud Beis. Rabbi and Riv are just two, they're the same energy. Rabbi, right, a master of the Torah scholarship, has this capacity of the Riv Hashem, of the war of God. And I believe what's being communicated here is that both of these energies are absolutely necessary. And one is the capacity that allows us to have constant sensitivity to the world around us and to be in a siach tmidi, to be in a constant dialogue between us and the Creator. Someone who has a heart of stone, they're not able to be in dialogue. They don't receive things. They're not open to experience, not from the outside and not from the inside, right? So we want to be able to have this rakut. However, at the same time, a person is not able to make progress if they're in a constant state of softness. If they're in a constant state of softness and gentility and vulnerability, they're not waging the war. There's a riv of Hashem. There's a war that needs to be waged. Here they're talking about in a very, very supernal and sublime sense, the war of God in the sense of Talmud Torah. And anyone who has any experience in a Beit Midrash knows that it is a warlike energy there. People that really, really make progress in Torah and grow in Torah and achieve excellence in Torah, there is a warlike energy to that. You're arguing with the Chavrusas, you're challenging each other, you're sharpening each other, as the Pasuk initially says, Barzel, Barzel, right, steel on steel, Kain ish pnei re'ehu, is the same when two people are in dialogue, right? When you're in dialogue with your friend and he's challenging you and you're challenging him, it's like steel on steel, clashing. It's very aggressive, but they sharpen each other. They sharpen each other. So the ability to really progress is dependent on this energy of Riv, this energy of aggression. And to, God forbid, to lose one on the cheshbon of the other, right? To lose the gentility because we're so aggressive and intent on winning, but God forbid to lose the ability to progress, to lose the will to fight because of our softness. And there's no need to elaborate on the experience that we're all experiencing right now and the devastating loss that we've all seen. And it's very, very easy to take this loss, the response to this loss, and to check out from the fight. It's very, very easy. But the opposite is what we should be taking away from this. The opposite. Not to avoid the pain of the loss, because that's the rach. We need to tear our hearts in response to this tragedy. We need to tear our hearts and feel it in the utmost way that it can be felt. And at the same time, mercha tipcha, to strengthen ourselves. We're not done. We're not done. And as the unique capacity, every pasuk in the Torah comes with the mercha tipcha, to soften your heart, to rip your heart open, and to feel in the most intense way possible, and at the same time to continue waging the fight. This is the segula of the Torah that brings us in every pasuk of the Torah. It brings us this capacity, and this is the heritage of David HaMelech. David HaMelech, whose righteousness will save the world, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we should, in the individual level and the collective level, inculcate these qualities and bring about the richness and the power that they're able to bring us.
Sorry that you started out with a very impactful sentence that these are what bring you recognition of God. You wrote it in the very beginning, like a rewind.
Rav Kook says in the Tipcha section that all of the richness of the emotional world are just I said rungs on the ladder. He doesn't use that idiom, but he's saying they're all steps to the highest emotional intensity, which is realizing your divine source.
So you need both of these qualities to reach that. In other words, that what you said about the first one, but is that you need both of them together in order to reach that?
I don't think that it's also on the other side. I don't think it's also on the Tipcha side. I think that this idea of recognizing source is the highest state of vulnerability, because it's showing that it's coming to the recognition that you really don't have anything of yourself. It's a complete state of bitul. It's a complete state of self-nullification. Realizing that your source is the creator, in which all reality is contained within, right? Shochein ad maram b'kadosh shemo. That's like you don't have anything. Like it's almost impossible to act from that place. It's like you're just completely batel. It's stepping away from that, at least momentarily, that allows the tipcha element, the aggression, the fight, to step in.
You're saying you do need.
There's a different type of awareness of the creator at that time. It's not like you lose, God forbid, awareness of the creator, but not in this intense, nullified state of like I'm nothing and I'm just here, completely nullified to my fiery divine source.
So you're saying that you actually need both of these to come together in order to actually.
Both of these, says Rav Kook, are the chativa of the soul. They form the whole unit of the soul. The ability to be in a state of softness, vulnerability, and complete nullification, and the ability to be in intense warlike aggression. Both of these qualities are it. And again, it's hard to act them out simultaneously, right? Like we saw by Ido Aitzani, that in one context he acted out one side, and in another context he acted out another side. It depends on what the situation demands of us.